Hello, friends. Today I'm going to tell you a story that touches on one of Hollywood's darkest secrets. Do you know what can happen when even the biggest stars stand up to the system? Steve McQueen, a motorcycle enthusiast, a rebellious spirit, an actor who feared no one. But behind him lies a story that studios have tried to hide for years. Intrigued? Then listen up. Because this isn't just about movies, it's about the fight for true freedom. Who was this Steve McQueen? In 1960s-70s Hollywood, Steve McQueen was more than just an actor. He wasn't called the king of cool for nothing. Films like The Great Escape, Bullitt, and Papillon made him a worldwide star. But you know what? McQueen was never someone who sat comfortably within the system. He wanted to do everything on his own terms. Aren't you the same way? At work, at school, even in your family, don't you sometimes feel like someone is telling you what to do? McQueen experienced the same thing, except it was Hollywood's giant studios. Dark contracts. Hollywood back then operated completely differently than it does now. In the studio system, actors were essentially considered the property of the studios. Imagine this: you sign a contract with a company, and then that company decides which films you'll be in, what you'll wear, even who you'll date. McQueen opposed this system from the start. In the late 1950s, he became famous with the series Wanted Dead or Alive, but problems began there too. McQueen was unhappy with scripts, argued with directors. Studio executives told him, either do what we say or forget your career. The first big confrontation. In 1963, during the filming of The Great Escape, something interesting happened. The film was a major project for Hollywood. Millions of dollars were being spent. McQueen wanted to use his own motorcycle in the film, to do his own stunts. The studio firmly said no. Why? Because if McQueen got injured, all filming would stop and the studio would suffer huge losses. But McQueen didn't agree. He secretly put on a stuntman's outfit and filmed several scenes himself. When the studio found out later, they were furious, but it was already done. The film was a huge success, and McQueen's popularity grew even more. Hollywood's blacklist. Now we come to the most interesting part. In the 1960s, America was going through major changes. The civil rights movement, protests against the Vietnam War. McQueen began openly supporting these social movements. He criticized the government several times in interviews, stated he was against the war. Hollywood studios, however, were working closely with the government at that time. Remember the McCarthy era? During those years of communist hunts, many actors and directors were blacklisted and fired. Now something similar was happening. Pressure on McQueen began. Some studios stopped offering him projects. Some producers openly said that if he didn't change his political views, he wouldn't be able to act in major films. Freedom of speech and fearlessness. So what did McQueen do? Did he back down? Unfortunately, many people do, don't they? We too sometimes stay silent, afraid of losing our jobs, our comfort. But McQueen was different. In 1968, he agreed to participate in the film Bullitt, but on one condition: he would have a say in the script. The studio initially objected, but McQueen's popularity at the time was such that they had to agree. The film featured one of cinema's most famous car chase scenes and was a huge box office success. Secret campaign. Now let me tell you a fact that very few people know. In the early 1970s, several major studios launched a secret campaign to completely remove McQueen from the industry. How? Through the media, they spread negative news about him, tried to create an image of him as a difficult actor to work with. They even paid some journalists to write bad articles about him. This was connected to a famous rumor that emerged at the time. Supposedly, McQueen behaved rudely toward colleagues on set, but the truth was different. McQueen simply demanded professionalism and didn't agree with the terms dictated by studios. The Le Mans film, The Biggest Battle. In 1971, McQueen wanted to realize his biggest dream, to make a real film about racing. The Le Mans project was personal to him. He would both star in and produce it. McQueen spent his own money on this film, even mortgaged his house. But the studio, Cinema Center Films, constantly tried to interfere with his creative decisions. They wanted more dialogue, a romantic storyline, commercial elements. McQueen wanted to focus on the race itself, the feeling of speed. The result? A major conflict with the studio. Director John Sturges left the production. The project descended into chaos. The film eventually came out, but the commercial success wasn't what was expected. The studio placed all the blame for this failure squarely on McQueen. The system's revenge. After this incident, McQueen's position in Hollywood seriously weakened. Over several years, the projects offered to him significantly decreased. According to some sources, several major studio executives made an informal agreement not to offer McQueen expensive projects. Can you imagine? One of the highest paid actors of his time, the king of the box office, suddenly considered undesirable. What was the reason? Simply that he didn't want to submit to the system. For art and freedom. Interestingly, even during this difficult period, McQueen didn't abandon his principles. He began participating in smaller, independent projects. In 1972, he acted in films like Junior Bonner and The Getaway. These films were made outside the control of major studios and gave McQueen more creative freedom. The Getaway is particularly interesting. Director Sam Peckinpah was also a rebellious personality like McQueen, and together they resisted studio interference. The film was highly rated by both critics and audiences. Secret Documents and Truth. In the 2000s, 20 years after McQueen's death, some archival documents were released to the public. These documents showed that, indeed, several studio executives had collaborated to brand McQueen as a problem actor. It was even revealed that the FBI had monitored his activities simply because he supported the anti-war movement. How absurd does this seem to you? A person being persecuted simply for his opinion, for wanting control over his art. But this was the reality of that time and, unfortunately, to some extent continues today. Final years and legacy. McQueen died in 1980 at just 50 years old. The cause of death was mesothelioma, a rare form of cancer related to asbestos. Some say this disease was caused by injuries and conditions he was exposed to during the Le Mans filming. But McQueen's legacy is greater than his films. He proved that it's possible to stand against the system. Yes, the price was heavy, career problems, financial difficulties, health issues, but he never betrayed himself. What does this mean for us today? Now think, how many times have you betrayed your principles just to stay comfortable? How many times did you stay silent even though you knew something was right? Because others disagreed? McQueen's story shows us that true freedom isn't just about making choices, but also having the strength to accept the consequences of those choices. He knew that standing against the system would cost him dearly, but he did it anyway. Hollywood's unchanging face. Interestingly, similar stories are happening in Hollywood today. Some actors and directors are punished for their positions, removed from projects. What's the difference? Now, these processes happen in more subtle, more hidden ways. The social media era has changed everything, but at the same time, everything has remained the same. Now, instead of open pressure, studios create public opinion, organize campaigns. The result is the same, though. Those who don't submit to the system are cast aside. Conclusion and our thoughts. Steve McQueen's story isn't just about one actor's struggle. It's about the dilemma each of us faces in daily life: submit to the system and live comfortably, or stay true to our principles and fight. McQueen made his choice, and perhaps it cost him a lot. But he went down in history not only for his beautiful films, but also for his integrity, his fearlessness. What do you think? Was McQueen right? Or should he have been more diplomatic and tried to change the system? Write in the comments, let's explore this topic further. And remember, sometimes the greatest heroes aren't created on screen, but behind it.